Perfect. Okay, let me just check that we are on my side as well. I can see if I can see that I'm live. Yep, I can see that I'm live. Perfect. And then I'm going to broadcast. Brilliant. Okay, cool beans. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Memorial Day, Memorial Weekend. Hope you had a good time with friends and family, and enjoyed the cookout. If you had any barbecue out there, we had our election results come out yesterday with the European elections. So yeah, the major parties definitely took a hit. But unfortunately, we don't celebrate Memorial Day here in the UK, but we do have our own remembrance version, which is in November, I believe. So yes, I'm just waiting for a few more people to roll in before I get started. And wow, yesterday was mad, wasn't it? Bitcoin just flying off, just decided I'm gonna put in, 1,000, just one bag, just like that, within a few hours. So, yeah, I'm gonna get to that in a few more moments. I'm just periodically looking. Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm gonna get started. So, wow. I'm not sure what your positions are right now, whether you've been accumulating while we've been seeing this bullish move up. And apologies for the background noise. There are guests, family right now, doing their thing in the kitchen, cooking up. And so, yeah, because our what do you call it, Independence Day was Friday the 24th, but we actually celebrate it during the weekend and sometimes, the week. So yeah, what was I going to say? Yes, so with the market in particular over the last few weeks, I should say, where we've been seeing this, fast movements to the upside, this bullish, very strong bullish momentum coming in, these bullish rallies, and noting that, showing us officially that we are in bullish territory. And so it's all about making sure we sustain the volumes and the transactions, because is this a dead cat bounce? Is this just a bull fake? Are they, trying to trap retail investors and traders and, get us to, buy up, at the top and, and then dump on us. But so far, the bulls have been holding firm. We've been seeing higher highs being made, higher lows are being made. So each time, even though we see these very short time, and they don't even last that long, these corrections, the most I've seen it last for a few days, but you can clearly see the progress being made, and the key word is sustained. And for it to be at this period now, at this level, where it's actually getting more and more riskier for the bulls, even though it's a bullish zone, bullish momentum, positive sentiments out there, especially with these recent developments and headlines out, major names, Facebook, AT&T, Fidelity again, making their appearance. However, this is where we need to practice caution. Very easy to get caught up with the FOMO right now, which is what we're experiencing to some extent. And very easy for price to be manipulated at this point as well. Very easy for pumps and dumps to happen. Still, at the very first phase of recovery. And so I'm cautiously optimistic, because even though we're coming out of a very prolonged bear market, I still think that, there might be a few tricks up the sleeves of Wales, institutional players that have, been coming in through over the counter trading and so on. They have been making their presence felt. Their involvement going back to a few years, and notably with December 2017, when we saw the launch of the CME and CBOE Bitcoin futures that are cash settled, it had a negative effect on the price of Bitcoin. It took money away from the market. And so, because these were essentially bets on the price of Bitcoin, its movement, what the price will be at some point in the future, at pre-agreed date. So, with the CBOE, they've did announce that they stopped doing these Bitcoin futures, but CME continues to take these contracts. And I believe May this month has been the highest so far in terms of number of contracts. And so we're looking at so some of these movements are institutional. Some of it is, we may see Wells and traders use particular points in the market. So if we've been consolidating for a while, and we're due for a breakout, or it's been pulling back just slightly but refusing to go back and retest previous lows. We know there's enough volumes in the market holding that bullish sentiment is still strong, because if it was just a reaction based off news, and it's usually short-lived. If we have fundamental related news, that helps to increase adoption, number of transactions up, the network effect continues to grow, and with the Lightning Network as well, the number of transactions have been increasing as well. So where we are right now, there's literally confluences, there's confirmations, and different metrics showing overall that we're heading in a positive direction. So the market has been using that to make some moves, to manipulate, somewhat, get the bulls excited. And so what we have been seeing is people have been buying the pullbacks at the dips, and you can see by how whether they're severe or not, whether they last a few hours, a few days, or not. And so each opportunity where there is a pullback, we get to see the strength of the bulls. That's where you really see where the market is, and where it's likely to go. So because we've been seeing it hold so far, it's been breaking resistance. It did encounter some, especially when we got to trying to keep above that 8,000 has been, a bit of a challenge. At some point, I did see it go as low as 6,900. I think I mentioned before, 6,900, excuse me. But you can see just literally threw some wicks down. It did not stay there, not even for a few minutes, I have to say, when it breached below 7,000. It did that several times, and it still, managed to bounce back. So that resiliency, that resilient, those sort of factors, how the bulls react when there are pullbacks. The sellers really are battling, because if you take a look at the sell wall on these exchanges, the buy wall and the sell wall, typically we get an idea of where the market would be heading towards, and you can look at the number of volumes coming into the market and see that's been sustained day on day, week on week, and so far with Bitcoin. And that obviously has a positive effect with the rest of the altcoins at some point, but usually what we've been seeing is that Bitcoin's dominance has been increasing. It's now, we saw it go as high as 59%. I didn't see that 60%, in black and white. I saw 59 point something, but we saw it at some stage going from 50, 52, climbing up to 57 and onwards. And now it's actually dropped back. So from 59 to 57, even though we've been seeing the prices go up. So, and this is because usually Bitcoin, when there's a bit of a bull run, Bitcoin's the first to enjoy the move up, the sentiment. And then we will see it settle in. We will see it go sideways or consolidate a bit. And then the altcoins then have their moment to shine. They also, come in and enjoy. It's almost as the market feels even more confident. They feel more reassured now that Bitcoin has stabilized somewhat, or at least been holding, its value and being able to contain the corrections quite well. There's more confidence in the market to then move some of their assets from Bitcoin to altcoins, or just go straight up to the altcoins and reinvest there. Or if there's new investors coming in the scene, they tend to go for the ones that are in the top 20, top 30. And so where we are right now, so with this dominance dropping off slightly, but the altcoins have been enjoying the share has actually increased for them. That's another sign that the market is pretty confident, because normally during corrections or struggles, the difficult times, especially what we saw with the bear market being prolonged, altcoins take a much harder hit, as we've seen, and they take longer to recover. And so that initial dominance is not a surprise by Bitcoin. And now what you'll really see as if it continues to go at this bullish pace and break 10K, 9K seems imminent, but if it breaks 10K, if you, let me in fact check, because I've always, even while I'm on Zoom, especially the last few days, I've been seeing if it will be correcting, will start to correct while I'm on live, or whether it will actually break resistance. That 9K is so close to, you had some exchanges reporting 8,900 as the highest it reached yesterday. And but if you look at the weighted average using CoinMarketCap, for example, I saw when I just before I went live, I saw it go to 8,772 for Bitcoin. It's in the last 24 hours. Sorry, I'm going back and forth. In the last 24 hours, it's added 10% of its value. That is crazy to me. It's literally knocking on the door of 9,000, which is, resistance. It would be the highest we would go for this year, but 10K, now that is a very strong psychological resistance there. And if we, I do believe if we break that, even within a few days or a few weeks from now, this is going to be flying at that point. I think there will be like potentially 13K as the next target. But here's my concern. We need to see these corrections coming in soon. And if they don't come in properly at some point, then I feel even if we get to 10K, 13K, that correction will be even more severe. So to break the fall, or to break the this is if you're a trader, by the way. If you accumulate, if you're a holder, long-term investor, this is fantastic for you. You're able to get in at the pullbacks and be able to accumulate more. But I really want us to have a bit more time to be able to accumulate at these lower prices before the halvening occurs next May 2020. And it's already sort of beginning to get priced in with the market. I mean, you may have read reports and seen, articles being written stating why historically this has caused price appreciation, and whether how miners have treated these events. And usually the market has always regarded this as positive. I remember, unlike with what's happening, recently with the US markets, with the stock markets, for example, the indices, they've been taking a bit of a hit, a bit of a correction and slight rebound, but it is expected, because they are at all-time highs, that we're going to have some, level of correction there, and that it will be severe, possibly, starting off a recession next year, triggering, it might be the catalyst for that. But we have been seeing that the number of withdrawals and these liquidations, these holdings of global stocks, actually been at all-time, the highest, at least for this year. There is consensus that the US is heading to a recession one way and another. There's several factors at play, and now with this whole China debacle and Iran and Venezuela, and Russia, several global geopolitical issues at play here. You will see Bitcoin, you will see the crypto space take a bit of, it will be a bit mixed. So you'll have some people looking to diversify and hedge just to be exposed to another asset, especially if it still continues the momentum that we've been seeing, if it seems more or less immune to what's happening elsewhere, and the bulls are pretty much in control, then we will see some investors move, even though it sounds a bit crazy, that you would think that they would retreat just to go into gold or safe assets and whatnot. But increasingly, people are seeing, especially in the beginning of a bull market, people will be tempted to look at these incredible percentages of return in such a short time. But where we are, with all the developments that we've been seeing in the space, we know Bitcoin is increasingly seen as a store of value, which is essentially as digital gold, so to speak. Matching, it has similar properties to gold. So because it's been maintaining its value, and where we are in the cycle, in the beginning of the recovery, despite what's going on in the traditional market, it's tempting some investors to come in and at least have some exposure to it, so they don't feel like they're missing out. So where we are right now, totally different, even with these upcoming regulatory proposals, and some of them being accepted. I mean, some of them have already been seen, written into domestic law, introduced into their respective houses, like Montana, for example, Wyoming, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and other states, Colorado. So they've already been making moves on a state level to clear, make the position clear on cryptos and blockchain technology being at the forefront of this emerging disruptive technology. So, but from my understanding, federal laws supersede state laws where this is concerned. So this is why there's a big push right now, at least from our industry, representatives, high profile people, experts looking to, sit down and collaborate with governments, with regulators, with institutional players, and be able to at least make sure that they understand what this technology, this impact, the level of impact this can have on the economy, on politics, on society as we know it. So if they are at least understand the technology and get the basics right, because from what we're seeing, they're actually hiring people that are experts in this field for them to really understand it. You have some people in places in places of power, positions of power, decision makers that have absolutely no clue about the ins and outs of this technology, and they need to be able to grasp the concepts, which is mind-boggling at first, considering how you've been conditioned and taught, and your level of experience dealing with securities, for example, with the Howey law, with the Howey test and whatnot. So wrapping their minds around a new technology and trying to explain to them about intrinsic value and stuff, because Bitcoin does, but it's just treated differently from other asset classes, and it's because of these particular incredible qualities that it has, the fact that it's decentralized for them, that's one of the things that rubs them up the wrong way, because with governments and regulators, the whole point of their structures, centralized structures, is to maintain power, control, have the ability to monitor, have the ability to enforce these rules, and crack down, whether it's freezing accounts or issuing penalties and so on. But there's a degree of control that they need to have, and they're only as powerful as their tools and their understanding. And so having this change is almost an adaptation of mindset, because it is actually threatening their way of doing business, or their way of regulating, or their way of doing things, of carrying out their work to be compliant with the law. And so because this is the genius in its at its very core, is designed to get away from the very people that caused a lot of the problems in this world. So it is the antithesis. So censorship resistant qualities, censorship resistant systems, decentralized systems are the future, and we've been clearly seeing that play out. Bitcoin being the original real world use case, being proven over and over again, especially in economies in countries where you have unstable situation, whether it's the government, administration, leadership, whether it's economic issues like hyperinflation and whatnot, poverty. There's many things, many factors at play. Even with the situation with the unbanked around the world, there's a real need, a real appetite, real demand coming from the bottom up. And so these are incredible times. It's like a digital version of the gold rush, so to speak. So with this situation now, with where we are in the cycle with Bitcoin, with the alt market, altcoins, and with all these fundamental related news coming out, for example, with the ATSC accepting crypto, again, that's another aspect of helping to push and drive the rate of adoption. And it cannot be stopped. There's already consensus and acceptance that this technology cannot be stopped, cannot be shut down, nothing like that. So it's how do we control, if we can't control it, how do we influence, how do we monitor, how do we get a hold of this as much as we can? How can we stack the deck in our favor, stack the cards in our favor as much as we can? So it's dealing with this new reality, and how these regulators are now coming out, trying to come out with these standardized protocols and rules to be able to. So it doesn't matter which jurisdiction or country you go to, you're going to be subject to the same or similar rules. And these are recommendations right now. They're not even enshrined into the respective law, the statutes of all these jurisdictions. Right now, there's a big it's this in terms of places that are crypto friendly is fully fragmented. You can go to places like Switzerland and Malta, for example, to set up to avoid other places that are, crypto hostile, so to speak, and hostile to the technology, because there's certain things that concern them, like their, population getting more powerful, money outflow, money outflows increasing. There's the political aspect, the financial aspect, so many aspects. And then you have countries that are facing sanctions from the US, trying to, like Iran, like Russia, trying to de-dollarize. They're trying to reduce their reliance on the dollar. As we know, the dollar is the reserve currency for oil and for some other countries that peg their currencies to the dollar. So reducing their reliance on the US dollar and finding alternative ways to be able to establish their monetary power and control over their goods and services, their money outflows and inflows, and their ability to settle transactions with different countries, and trying to find technologies and ways to reduce the costs, because that is one of the main issues with cross-border settlements. The time it takes, sometimes with the traditional system, it takes days, if not, hours, if not days. Worst case scenario, sometimes it takes longer if they have to run special checks. But when you have technology that allows you to receive payment, receive data in an instant, but then you're still waiting for your check to clear for days, or for something to get done within hours or days, it's just, there's a disconnect there. And so there's a real move right now to try and make things more seamless, more integrated. And so where we are right now, we're definitely going to continue to see more merchants accepting cryptos as a form of payment. We're certainly going to see more clarity coming in from the regulatory side. They've been working on this for years, but it's clear that they're going to be putting their foot down sooner or later, and they're working on that right now. And so what was I going to say? So we're going back to Bitcoin. Yes, the market is popping, led by Bitcoin. Litecoin and EOS have been making double-digit returns actually in the last 24 hours. In fact, also that reminds me of Tron, 11%. Justin Sun had tweeted that there's something massive coming to the Tron system, and BitTorrent as well. And he's basically been a hype man and gassing everyone up and putting to keep pushing the FOMO, instigate the FOMO in there. And he said he'll share this information after the 1st of June, and mentioning that he has something about 70% to win and nail it. And so, fingers crossed for him. So he's actually, helping. He's a single one-man band, I guess, trying to pump up Tron and the other bike extension as well, other coins. He's a crazy dude. Anyway, speaking of Bitcoin, Satoshi Vision as well. Surprisingly, that's been up almost 16% last time I checked. With Craig Wright, I'm really surprised after this craziness. When we saw that fork happening before with Bitcoin, the ABC and the Bitcoin SV, ABC was more generally accepted by exchanges and whatnot. We saw SV version being delisted on some, and recently, coming out to say that he is okay. I am Satoshi Nakamoto again and again. And what was another thing he was trying to do? Copyright the white paper, copyright the technology. And no one's taking him seriously when he keeps saying that. Because if it was Satoshi Nakamoto, the real deal, I'm sure he'd go onto his a wallet containing over 1 million bitcoins, and just move a coin out there. I mean, there's ways that he can prove he's Satoshi Nakamoto and put the proof out there, but he's just using this to pump his own coin, guys. From what I'm seeing, he's just shilling, and controversy sells. Obviously, also he is trying to put a bit of a damper on the original Bitcoin, and trying to find ways that he can what do you call it, dampen, putting a damper on things for people that invest in Bitcoin, and and also, like, so if you were Satoshi Nakamoto, okay, you wouldn't, okay, some of the things he was saying as well, just it doesn't strike me as something that Satoshi would say himself. And then another thing is, he said that Bitcoin was aiding and abetting criminals, and the tone, the way he said that. And if you look at Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper, it isn't about how this one person having control over the system. He's decentralized, is putting the control back in the people. But here you have Craig Wright talking about how he's going to control things and do things or whatever to try and push down Bitcoin, and trash his competitors, and it doesn't sound like, if he was confident in his own version, Satoshi Vision, he wouldn't have the need to bash Bitcoin and other altcoins and whatnot. It would just be very clear by the technology, by his vision and the roadmap and the works that the developments that Satoshi Vision would be doing. So he's really just just trying to look for attention and using key moments in the market to be able to drive price movements and whatnot. So I'm not really taking him seriously right now, even though, don't get me wrong, he is influential, he's powerful, he's one of the early people that were involved in the project, in Bitcoin and other aspects of the technology. He's one of the original players, but it's just the way he's going about it. It's clear that he's just shilling for his own, for Bitcoin SV. So but anyway, people are, some investors are loving that, and they're still giving support, just as crazy as Ripple holders as well. But anyway, if you remember Ripple, they're not too, I'm surprised they didn't gain more, but about 7% each. Last time I checked, Bitcoin Cash itself is up by 8%. So you can see why he feels smug. Craig Wright, his is getting 16%, Bitcoin Cash is 8%. And what was I going to say? With I forgot what I was going to say. Okay, so with my mind's completely blank. Okay, so Bitcoin, good. I just remembered. So despite these scandals and drama, despite the Tether Bitfinex issue as well, and other negative stuff that came out and FUD, Bitcoin for this year has actually, is up something like more than 135% year to date. So since January, it's gained over 135% or so. And so, what was it? Just a couple of months ago, we saw it being below 4,000. and now we're seeing it knocking on the doors of 9,000. So all of these are it is just mostly the positive bullish sentiment coming in and expressed through volumes and transactions. But the level of development that's been going on during the bear market and onwards, some of these developments won't even kick in until later on this year or 2020 as well. But we're starting to see people like, buyers becoming impatient and saying, we're going to kick things off right now. There's still some people, including myself, that are cautiously optimistic because I want to see how far these pullbacks can go and test previous lows. But it's clear we're in the bullish territory right now, and the recovery phase is on its, right now it's at the early stages, and seeing these volumes sustained has been one of those key indicators for me and for many people. And with these, because even if you use indicators to see where the momentum and the to get a directional bias and whatnot, it really is about seeing how it's sustained and what's happening around that point as well. And so this is why, from what we saw in 2017, even though the RSI, even though other indicators were showing that Bitcoin was severely overbought, it still violated those readings. Bitcoin continued its parabolic rise, but eventually it had to correct. And because of the continuous Bitcoin didn't really get a chance to fully correct and take a proper breather. Eventually that caught up with it. It had to pay the price. And as with market cycles, what goes up must come down. And so where we are right now, there is still the possibility is getting smaller by the day, but there's still a chance that the bear market will be prolonged. It can be extended by whales, by traders. That could easily, if some negative news comes out or development. Right now, the Bitcoin is buoyant, so it has been able to, absorb these shocks. And because of its, strong bullish sentiment right now, it's been carrying itself. And in fact, let me just double check while I say that, because I do suspect that 9,000. Just as I said that, it shut up. It's going to try and break that 9,000 probably as I speak. Don't know if you've seen this, guys, on TradingView or any of the exchanges, Binance, Bitfinex, Coinbase. I know some exchanges will be showing a higher price, but I'm literally I'm almost going to be done anyway. So anyway, where we are right now, it's been showing. I saw something called the bullish pennant form on the chart, and it was only okay. I'm gonna have to put that down now. Another thing that that you guys will be aware of as well, hopefully, the CME volumes as well. CME with the Bitcoin futures contracts. Watch out for that as well, because some of them taking long positions. Some of these investors, some of it is actually having a bit of an impact. These reports helping to drive the positive sentiment again, but these volumes that we're seeing and these price manipulations, it could potentially be a setup to pump the market and then dump back down on them. So just this is why we're, I'm still cautiously optimistic, and some analysts are as well. But clearly, we're in bullish territory, guys, as we know. And the key thing is to see those volumes sustained. That's what's especially after the pullbacks, and this is why I'm wanting to see. And the way it runs out, where we have these impulses and breakouts, we've also seen patterns where Bitcoin corrects quite sharply as well in the past. But where and when that happens is always the $1 million question. Hindsight is 2020, but there's always lessons we can learn from previous price actions and patterns in particular. But yeah, it could easily, with the bullish scenario, this could easily, 10K could easily come within a few days if it just keeps running up. If it smashes that 9,000, which is why I'm watching it, it's literally over, it keeps going over 8,900 and keep setting new highs at the moment. And so it could easily within the next few hours, break that 9K resistance and run up to, as far as it can to potentially to test that at 10K. And this could happen in a matter of days, best case scenario. Worst case scenario, I don't think it's worse. I think it's, another chance to get in at the pullback and, accumulate. The worst case scenario, we could actually see the bears take it down and knocking off another $1,000, because you saw yesterday, this weekend in particular, it corrected to, what was it, 7,900, and it used that as a launching pad to then shoot up and add $1,000, within a space of a few hours. So, and that was during the Asia session, during when Asia was awake and Europe and America was sleeping. And so the increase, we've been seeing an increased level of institutional interest over the last few, especially building up to this, to the next few months as well, where there's key developments happening that affect regulations, that affect custody solutions and so on. I'm literally going back and forth. It's correcting a little. Well, it's still facing some strong resistance there. Volumes on CME. These Bitcoin contracts, Bitcoin futures are increasing, and that will have a part to play with that as well. But if you were there from 3,100 and to witness it go up to almost 9,000, and you did take some action to accumulate on the pullback and stack up, or you've been trading it and taking out buy positions, long positions, you're eating. You're basically enjoying this and stacking up big time, depending on what, if you use leverage or not. If you've because if you took out a hold, if you had been holding one Bitcoin or purchased at least a Bitcoin when it was 3K and it's almost 9K, that's almost tripled your returns there. Certainly more than doubled. Even if you came in at 4K, 8K, you've doubled your money. Yeah, you've doubled your returns. And so this is why where we are right now is incredibly critical. It can, just as quick as it goes up and has these sharp rallies, it's all about whether it can sustain them. Because if it can't, it will eventually it has to correct, and the intensity and severity of the pullback will be determined by the bears and how the bulls respond to that. And so if there's real demand and the sentiments are strong, the volumes are sustained, they're going to be absorbing any, short-term corrections and pullbacks that we see. These we need to have healthy retracements for the progress, for price action to be sustained. Slow and steady, we need some level of correction to happen. And so, yeah, there will always be a level of profit taking that happens. But yeah, just be careful as always when you're trading at these particular time. And if you're stacking up, you're hodling, man, you're loving this. You're already seeing appreciation and returns. And with your existing portfolio, hopefully it's looking more healthier now. Yeah, the volumes on other exchanges have been going up as well and being sustained. People are beginning to, if you look at Google Trends, for example, people are beginning to register their, increased interest in Bitcoin and crypto. And remember, we said this before, as soon as we start seeing, reports and developments and the price of this in line with price appreciation, and a recovery returning into the market, you're going to start hearing more people talk about cryptos again, and people coming back to you and asking you questions and whatnot. And so that confidence will be renewed. Very typical of human behavior, to take interest when the market is up, and when it's down, they call it a scam and run off and whatnot. But we've been holding firm, and these crypto transactions, though, they need to hold up, guys. And these volumes need to be sustained. But we're definitely seeing, the thawing out of the crypto winter, guys, as you're fully sure you've already established. And these fundamental developments that we're being seen will be priced in over time. But again, these are being used as catalysts to, with the bulls in particular, to get these, party popping sooner rather than later. Yeah, but just be wary of the fact that anytime whales or traders can, come in and knock the wind, the wind off the sail, and when that is established, you have the initial sellers coming in, the whales to make the move, and then you have retail traders getting spooked by it, and retail sellers jumping in as well, and pushing and prolonging that downturn as long as they can. And it's really going to be about how the bulls react, and how whether the sentiment is truly as strong as they say it is. And so far, it has been bearing out. It has been holding out. Yeah, we're seeing overbought conditions, but that's not anything new where Bitcoin's concerned. If you remember, if you look at the daily chart and you go back to December the 6th, 2017, going back when the price was over $13,000, from that point, it just went crazy. 13,000 to 20,000. That parabolic run was crazy to witness, and that we clearly saw was a level of FOMO that there had to be a price to pay for that, because also the fundamental aspects, the developments that we've been seeing during the bear market didn't occur at the time, and we also had the ICO craze. So it's really about people jumping on the bandwagon and buying in at the top, at the highest levels, and so it proved, I wouldn't say catastrophic, but it just showed us again that in these cycles you have to be careful of getting in at the euphoria stage. You want to get in before preferably during the bear market when everyone's afraid. That's when it's time to accumulate, and be patient and see, suffering with your portfolio in the red, but you think of what happens in the future when these developments appreciate. And so with this reminds me with Russia as well, with the situation going on with the states, with the sanctions that they're facing and whatnot, it's been said that they're considering creating some form of stable coin backed by gold, their own national crypto, their own national stable coin. So these sanctions have been having an impact on Moscow and its ability to pay bills, pay settlements. I think with defense contracts or something like that, they blocked at least 20%. The US State Department blocked at least 20% of their defense deals, for example. And one of the things that Russia have been trying to do is gain back their they're sort of trying to reduce their reliance on Europe and America in particular, where the finances are concerned. And these, that's why they're reaching out to other countries like China, like Iran, like Venezuela, trying to keep that leader, what's his name, Maduro, in power, because it serves as a proxy. Having allies that are your eyes and ears, near America is actually, quite useful. We saw what happened with Cuba, for example, Cuba being aligned with Russia, and that long-standing embargo. I think it was lifted somewhat, especially for travel and whatnot, under the Obama administration. But what was I going to say? Under Trump, they've been trying to keep these powers that be in the Latin America area, and these regional powers that, if they become destabilized, it would create a bit of problems for the state. They would prefer strong allies, American-friendly allies, to be running these countries. And so, like Brazil, I think he's a Trump supporter. He's being touted as the Brazilian version of Trump. I forgot his name now, but the Brazilian president has been, copying some of his Trump's straight out of the Trump playbook and applying it to his country. But anyway, going back to what Russia and some of these countries, even like Iran, are planning to do, creating their national cryptocurrencies, whether it's backed by commodities like gold, like oil. With Venezuela case, petro, they said oil, and I think a mix of other, a small amount of other commodities as well. I think gold and diamonds I read with the petro, but it's mainly oil. So if Russia decides to do this and back it by gold, and they've been stocking up on gold and paying off their US debts as well, because they did take out some debt bonds or something like that. Can't remember, debt treasury or something like that. Anyway, they are working on something like that. And also recently, European Union have been looking at stable coins with interest, because if it's with Russia, I have to say they are actually against cryptos as they stand out. The coins out there as they are right now. But stable coins, those that are backed by commodities, by goods that they things that they consider to be of value to them, then that's another completely different proposition altogether. So they've been looking at stable coins with interest, seeing how this would work out in real life, and what this could mean, what the political and the financial implications could be for that, and how perhaps it would change up help to at least serve as a catalyst to have not just Russia but Russia's allies de-dollarize and reduce their dependence on the dollar, and transact in other alternative currencies and mediums to be able to do business and have these international settlements done in a way that suits them. And so, yeah, there's a big shift going on that side. And America is not too happy, as you can imagine, with that. And China recently, sorry, I keep going back and forth with the chart. China's Center for Information and Industry Development came out with its latest rankings as well for 35 coins. And they have EOS on top again, I think, and Bitcoin's all the way down in 12th place, although before I think it was 15th, so it's gained 3 places. I think second place is Tron, and you know, don't underestimate China, because I believe the number of blockchain patents that they've registered and blockchain related projects, they're actually on top where that's concerned. They're blazing the trails. Second, closely followed by the States where that is concerned. And also be careful, guys, of Google. On Google Play, I think there was a report out that there was at least 2 fake crypto wallets out there, and that it could be used as a front to do some phishing attacks, and data, emails, and whatnot can be stolen. Any sort of personal information that it's programmed to take, it can easily be taken. And so, yeah, just make sure I always say go to the official website of whatever app that you're trying to download, you know, and rather than just clicking links and I mean, rather than just trying to search for it on the app and download it, I would prefer to get it from the official party, or if I'm on the, you know, if I'm logged in on a account, for example, or whatever, and it's an official account, and you see a link for the app. And another thing you can see as well with the details, I think there's some sort of certification and other aspects where it can tell you that it's actually official. But yeah, there's ways to, and not everyone has time to do all these extra verifications and whatnot. So just if you want to be absolutely sure where your money is concerned, or any precious, you know, data is concerned, you know, that you have to use to log in an exchange or whatnot, it's always best to go via the official website and download the app. And you only have to do this once anyway. When you download the app, it's always there until you uninstall. So just be careful where crypto wallets are concerned. Just know, of course, there'll be some criminals looking to, you know, take advantage of the unaware, and you think you've got the official version of the wallet or whatnot, and you end up, you know, they could install viruses and whatnot as well on your phones and laptops and whatnot. So just, you know, practice due diligence. I'm sure you're already aware of this. Yeah, I think that's it for now. I've gone over my time slightly, but hopefully that is helpful. And you know what, let me just quickly check where we are. Okay, it's still rejecting. It's still, you know what, let me check on trading view, because it does obviously vary from exchange to exchange. You might see some already saying 9,000, it's gone above 9,000, but let me see, Bitfinex is under 9,000. Coinbase is still under 9,000 as well, 881. And if I just quickly refresh CoinMarketCap, which gives you that average weighted of all these exchanges, Yeah, 8,846 is where it's at right now. So, don't be surprised if it breaks at 9,000. It's extremely close. It's only off by 100, just over $100 or something like that, 150. And if the resistance holds out, then I can definitely see it correcting down at least a few $100. If the sellers have managed to maintain their momentum, I can see that progress that it's made, gaining 1,000, easily coming down, 800, perhaps even testing 7,000 again, potentially. But yeah, we shall see. But right now, I am seeing, just based off looking at if it's created higher lows. So each time it goes down, each time the price goes down and goes back up, if you draw a trend line and it looks like it's in a I don't know if you guys can see, but if this is the right way for your perspective. If it goes down, like, if it goes up like this, and you can see each time it rebounds and just keeps rebounding up, like the price that it came up from, it's actually creating higher lows, and it means that the bulls are still in control and they're being able to absorb these corrections, and that there's still clearly momentum and enough volume to sustain that. So yeah, so that's it for now, guys. I hope you have a fantastic week. We are coming up to what, end of May now. Can't believe this. Wow, it's crazy. So I'm going to be coming back Friday, I believe, with long-term research, and I will deliver that for you. And I'm going back and forth between the charts. I literally want to see, before I go, if there's anything else, anything new that will happen whilst I'm nope, it's just still facing resistance there. But anyway, have a fantastic week. Enjoy, and yeah, there's a lot more to come, as you guys know. And let's see how what I'm going to keep an eye out on is the impact that the CME contracts, the Bitcoin future contracts, will have within the next few days. That's what I want to know, because it's getting to a point where if 9K is breached, there's no area between 9K and 10K. I believe that it'll just go straight up. But there's no doubt at some stage there has to be a correction, and I want to be able to see if the bears will ever get a chance to take advantage and take prices down to retest previous lows. I would love for that to happen. I definitely think that healthy retracements are important to having that, building up that slow, steady growth and appreciation is the way to go. And also the fundamentals at some point will catch up. Some of them are already being starting to get priced in now, but I believe it's still early days, more or less, where we are, meaning that there's still opportunities to be able to get in on the pullbacks and accumulate. But yeah, it would be great if we ever see prices go down to 4,000 and below. That will seem like a miracle to some people. But don't get scared, don't get spooked if we do have a correction of that nature. But so far, based on the charts and the evidence that we see, the territory we're in, the momentum is clearly in the bull side. So yeah, enjoy, guys, whatever you're doing, trading, hodling. you know, it feels like crypto summer has already kicked in, you know. So crypto spring, crypto summer, depending where you are in the world. So okay, so yeah, that's it. So my final words to you guys is don't panic, stay calm, enjoy the process as always. With my Bitcoin, Bitcoin's giving us a crazy story to tell, right? But anyway, take care, guys. Peace out, and have a great week.